Many of us love train journeys. They are the best for capturing the mesmerizing sights as you move. But have you ever felt scared traveling in trains? Well, after watching this, you may think twice about boarding a train. Here are 3 spine-chilling true stories from the world of trains. As much as trains are known for their long journeys and the sound of wheels on tracks, they also hold some terrifying secrets. The mysterious passenger. It was a night like no other, shrouded in thick clouds and relentless rain. A storm had started suddenly. The train's usual clatter on the tracks was not clear due to the roar of thunder, making the journey feel even more isolated. The conductor, a pleasant man with years of experience, had been on this route countless times before. He knew every twist and turn of the tracks, every bump and rattle. But tonight something felt different. The train felt heavier and slower, as if trudging through the storm with great effort. Normally, the conductor would have a colleague to share the night with, someone to chat with and pass the time. But tonight his partner had called in sick, leaving him alone to manage the train. The rain pounded on the roof, making a steady drumming noise while most passengers were sleeping. But the conductor was wide awake as he made his routine rounds. Checking each car to ensure everything was in order, he noticed something unusual in one of the passenger cars. At first it was just a faint sound, so soft it was almost drowned out by the rain. It was rhythmic, almost like the sound of footsteps. He paused, listening carefully. The sound was coming from the back of the car, where the lights were dimmer. The conductor frowned, glancing at his watch. It was past midnight, and most of the passengers were either asleep or trying to get comfortable in their seats. He wondered if someone was restless, walking up and down to stretch their legs. But as he approached, the footsteps seemed to stop. There was nothing but rows of empty seats. He shook his head and turned to leave, but the moment he did, the footsteps started again, louder this time, echoing through the empty car. A chill ran down his spine. The conductor had dealt with unruly passengers before, but this was different. The sound was too strange, too steady, like someone or something was purposefully making their way through the train. He couldn't ignore it any longer. Holding his flashlight tightly, the conductor took a deep breath and made his way back into the passenger car. The air felt colder here, and the lights above flickered as he walked. His footsteps echoed loudly, but the sound of the other footsteps had ceased, as if whatever was making them was aware of his presence. He shone the flashlight down, moving it slowly from seat to seat. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but empty seats and sleeping passengers. Everything appeared normal, yet the feeling of unease only grew stronger. As he reached the end of the car, he hesitated, the sense that something was watching him. He slowly turned around, sweeping the flashlight one last time. That's when he saw it, a dark, shadowy figure standing at the far end of the car. It was human-like in shape, but completely still, almost as if it were a shadow, cast by something that wasn't there. The conductor's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at the figure. It didn't move, didn't make a sound. He tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the figure vanished, dissolving into the darkness as if it had never been there. The conductor stood frozen, his breath coming in short gasps. He wasn't sure if he had imagined the whole thing, but the fear gripping him was real. With shaking hands, he quickly turned and hurried back to the safety of his cabin, not daring to look back. For the rest of the night, the conductor kept the door to his cabin locked, his eyes constantly darting to the shadows outside. The storm raged on, but inside, the train was deathly quiet. When the train finally pulled into the station the next morning, the conductor stepped off, his face pale and drawn. He never spoke of what he had seen, but those who knew him noticed he was never quite the same after that night. And from that night on, whenever the train passed through that stretch of track on stormy nights, some say they can still hear the faint sound of footsteps echoing through the empty cars, as if the mysterious passenger is still aboard, searching for something or someone in the shadows. The ghost train. In a small, quiet town in the countryside, there was a legend that had been passed down through generations, a tale of a ghost train that would occasionally appear on tracks that hadn't been used for decades. The old railroad had been abandoned for years, overgrown with weeds and forgotten by time. One evening, a group of friends, curious about the legend, decided to uncover the truth for themselves. They were young and adventurous, and the idea of checking out a ghost train seemed more exciting than frightening. They gathered supplies, flashlights, blankets, and snacks, and made their way to the old tracks just outside of town. The tracks were barely visible under the overgrowth, and the area around them was very quiet. The friends set up camp near a spot where the tracks curved into the trees, a place that many said was where the train was most often seen. The friends were starting to think the legend was just a story when, suddenly, they felt a low, distant rumble beneath their feet. At first, they thought it was just the wind, or their imagination playing tricks on them. But the rumble grew louder, and soon it was accompanied by a faint, rhythmic clattering like the sound of train wheels on steel tracks. The friends exchanged uneasy glances. There was no train scheduled to pass through, and the tracks had been out of service for years. Then, out of the darkness, a faint light appeared in the distance, steadily growing brighter as it approached. The friends froze, their eyes wide in disbelief. Emerging from the fog, gliding silently along the rusty tracks, was a train. It was unlike any train they had ever seen. Its outline was blurred, almost as if it were made of mist. The windows were dark, and through them they could see only shadows. But in the years that followed, whenever a thick fog rolled into the town, and the night was especially dark, the townspeople would hear whispers of the ghost train, gliding silently through the night, carrying with it the weight of forgotten memories and untold stories. The conductor's last ride. The final story is about a conductor who was on his last ride before retirement. He had been working on trains for over 30 years, and this was supposed to be his farewell journey. But what should have been a happy occasion turned into a nightmare. As the train moved through a remote area, the conductor began to feel uneasy. The train's lights flickered, and strange noises echoed through the cars. He tried to radio for help, but the signal was dead. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a figure standing at the back of the train. The figure was dressed in an old-fashioned conductor's uniform. The conductor called out, but there was no response. The figure simply stared at him, unblinking. Suddenly, the train jolted, and the figure vanished. Terrified, the conductor ran through the train, searching for the mysterious figure, but he found nothing. Later, when the train finally reached its destination, the conductor was found sitting alone in his cabin, pale and shaken. He told his colleagues what had happened, but no one believed him. They thought he was just tired after so many years on the job. But the conductor knew what he saw, and he never returned to the tracks again. Trains may take us to new places, but they also carry the echoes of the past and the unknown. Don't you think that even in the modern world, there are still mysteries we can't explain?